The little girl in this picture had no idea she was standing next to one of her country's most disturbing killer, and the terrifying part is that it was none other than her own father. Years later, his name would become connected to one of Sweden's most horrifying criminal cases after police discovered something inside his apartment that shocked the entire country. In 2010, 32-year-old Helle Christensen was living with her boyfriend Isakin Drabbad in the quiet Swedish town of Skara. From the outside, they looked like a struggling couple trying to rebuild their lives. Isakin had a daughter named Jamie Lee from a previous relationship. She was born in 2001. Helle also had 5 kids from a previous relationship, all living with their dads at the same time. Helle had her own difficult years while suffering from mental health struggles, and she was trying to get her life together with Isakin. Isakin and Helle, they both met while receiving psychiatric treatment, and at first the relationship seemed very stable enough. They talked about opening a tattoo and piercing business together and trying to start over just as a normal couple. They liked each other's company, they often go for walks and spending time together. But over time, things become darker inside the apartment. Isakin was very unpredictable with his behavior. Sometimes he appears to be very calm, but at very moment, he can just flips. And that's why arguments between the couple reportedly become frequent. Family members later claimed Helle seemed frightened at times. But like many abusive relationships, things didn't look dangerous every single day. But Helle had a faith that she believed things would improve, but on November 12, 2010, everything changed. Friday night outside Skara was quiet. Most people in town had no idea that inside one apartment, a crime was unfolding that would soon make international headlines. Authorities believe an argument between Helle and Isakin escalated into deadly violence sometime during the evening, which seems like a normal argument suddenly changed into something so horrific. At some point, Helle was killed inside the apartment. Hours later, Isakin himself contacted emergency service, and according to reports, dispatcher immediately noticed something unsettling about his voice. He sounded very calm and unbothered from the murder of his girlfriend, the girlfriend he loved once so much. When police officers arrived at the apartment, they expected a homicide scene. Instead, investigators walked into something so disturbing that parts of the case were later hidden from the public because of how graphic the evidence was. Authorities confirmed that after the killing, Isakin mutilated part of Helle's body and remained inside the apartment for hours afterward. Investigators later discovered evidence suggesting that part of her remains had been cooked inside the apartment, and the shocking part in the whole murder was that Isakin ate some part of the body, and that detail shocked everyone in Sweden. Violent crimes of this nature are extremely rare there, and almost overnight, newspapers across Europe began referring to the story as the Skara Cannibal case. But what disturbed many people was not only the brutality of the crime, it was Isakin's behavior afterward. According to courtroom reports, he showed very little visible emotion while discussing what happened. During questioning, he claimed that he felt disconnected from reality during the killing and described the experience as feeling like a movie. Investigators also confirmed he had substances in his system at the time. The trial began in 2011. By then, Isakin had already admitted responsibility for killing Helle. So the courtroom battle focused less on guilt and more on his mental state during the crime. Psychiatrists said he suffered from severe mental illness involving psychotic episode and hallucination. His defense argued that he experienced a break from reality during the attack. Because the disturbing nature of the evidence, large portion of the proceedings were closed to the public, and eventually the court found Isakin guilty of murder, but instead of prison, he was sentenced to forensic psychiatric care. And suddenly the decision divided public opinion across Sweden. Some believed he was dangerously mentally ill and needed treatment. Others believed that the brutality of the crime crossed the line beyond rehabilitation. But strangely enough, the story did not end after sentencing. Years later, reports revealed that Isakin remained active online while inside psychiatric care, continuing to attract media attention long after the murder.
Some of the questions is related to the one, of course, ask about my past relationships with my ex-girlfriend that is dead now. But I can't talk to Amount about that now because it can affect my parole to get out of here.
In a recent interview, Isakin's daughter decided to come forward and tell her story to the world for the very first time. His daughter publicly spoke about the emotional trauma connected to the case and what it was like growing up tied to someone the world viewed as a monster. But hearing the story from the perspective of his daughter revealed something much darker. What it's like growing up connected to someone the entire world fears. In the interview, she described years of emotional confusion, manipulation, fear, and trauma connected to her father.
When I got a bit older, around 5, 6, he started to, I would call it brainwashing, because he made me believe things, he made me see things and believe things that wasn't real.
But what made the interview especially unsettling was this strange emotional conflict she admitted struggling with. Even after everything that happened, part of her still wanted a relationship with him.
Do you still love your dad?
I think it's impossible to stop loving a parent.
In many ways, her interview became less about the crime itself and more about the psychological aftermath left behind years later and the struggle she was facing all alone. But during one interview connected to the case, another disturbing detail surfaced. According to Isakin's daughter, her father claimed that before the murder, Helle had repeatedly asked him to kill her.
She kept asking me all the time after that.
She was demanding you to kill her.
Yes. I was in a point that I have lost my mind too, but in a different way.
Now there is no evidence confirming that claim is real and many people strongly question it after the interview aired. But hearing that statement added another deep layer to an already disturbing story. Because by that time, people were no longer just trying to understand the crime itself. They were trying to understand the psychological chaos surrounding the relationship before the murder happened.